Welcome to the Authority File, the academic library podcast from Choice. Choice is a publishing division of the ACRL and the publisher of Choice Reviews and CC Advisor. This episode is brought to you by Credo. I'm Bill Mickey, the host of the podcast and the editorial director at Choice, and for this 4-episode series, my guest and I will be discussing how orientation and engagement factor into the first-year experience. These discussions are part of a longer series on the first-year experience that Credo is presenting with Choice. Last month, we looked at some of the other components that help make a successful first-year experience program, namely collaboration and information literacy. But right now, and for the next several episodes, I'll be joined by Ray Pun, a doctoral student in educational leadership at California State University, Fresno, Andrew Carlos, STEM and Web Services Librarian at Cal State East Bay, and Danielle Rapu, Library Systems and Assessment Librarian at Pasadena City College. In this second episode of our series, our guests and I discuss their orientation and first-year experience programming and specific methods outside of those programs that they're using to engage students, faculty, and other groups. Okay, Andrew, you mentioned that East Bay is moving away from a required class for first-year instruction and going into sort of a semester-based configuration. What are the drawbacks and opportunities you see for the library in that move?
Yeah, so we are moving away from first-year instruction, but luckily we still have a 4-credit class, and it's going to be at the sophomore level.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which I think presents different problems because we no longer have the opportunity to talk to them at their first year, but it gives us an opportunity in that we are able to collaborate more closely with their disciplinary faculty. And actually, one of the major drawbacks is also just the fact that we no longer have guaranteed contact with students in their first year. So many of us have really developed relationships with these faculties, and we visit their upper division classes, but we are not always able to visit or even invited to the courses. So sometimes we're getting to students too late to really help them develop their research skills. Mm-hmm. And another major drawback is really that we have to completely remap how we do outreach to our faculty. Since we're losing our first year class, our entire campus is also moving to semesters, and they're transforming their curriculum. So now we need to relearn where we fit into their curriculum and when and where we attend their classes. But one of the major opportunities, though, is that since we no longer have the class that we're tied to, we also have started looking at alternative forms of instruction. So we've been doing scaffolded workshops that allow students to really develop their skills at an appropriate pace so they can pop in and pop out whenever there's a workshop that they need to attend. And we've also started looking more at embedded instruction, with one of our librarians spending the majority of their time working with one specific department and their completely revamped curriculum. So that faculty member is completely working with one department and spending, I want to say, maybe almost 50% of their time like working with their students, which is really a great opportunity for them to get to learn their students.
Do you find that, is there, or maybe it's the same, but I mean, is the sort of outreach and engagement that you're having to do now, and you mentioned it's kind of challenging with the teaching faculty. Do you see that as an opportunity as well, or do you think you'll be doing more of it than you previously were?
I think we're going to be doing more of it. What's actually really funny is a lot of the workshops that we've been running, we have attendees who we didn't really expect. So we expected students to show up, but we've actually had staff and faculty show up. So we don't know if maybe they're just like wanting to brush up their skills in information literacy, or if they're looking to see what the workshop is really about to see if their student should attend it. So that's been really great for us because it's been another outreach opportunity.
Yeah. Are you planning any follow-up with those faculty that do show up to those?
Yeah, we find out what departments they're in, and we connect them with their online librarians as well. We're also just asking them if there's any other workshops that they're hoping for us to run that would be related to information literacy.
Okay. And then what about you, Danielle and Ray? Each of your institutions handles FYE a little bit differently. Danielle, at Pasadena, there's a voluntary class. Clearly some students miss out on it. Are there other ways the library tries to engage new students?
So I'll go ahead and chime in first. For us, we do have a welcome day or student success day, and that is before the beginning of the semester. The campus reaches out and invites all new students and their families to come to campus for kind of an open house. And so they have a resource fair, and they open up a lot of the spaces like the library or the student union, and allow tours and information to be given out before the start of the semester, because once the chaos starts, it'll be a bit more difficult to navigate. So we find that with that day, we've been successful in having a library booth, and we've come up with a game, rather, I guess, that has been a way to promote the library and get people to participate and explore the space without bombarding them with information of what the library services are, but just to kind of get their feet wet and experience the library, especially if they haven't been in before. And the game is, we create buttons, and they have call numbers on them. And so in the resource fair, which is external to the library, it's in like an outdoor quad area, we have it staffed with a librarian and our library staff, and they give them a random button that the student gets to take with them. And the contest that they enter in is that they take the call number button to the library, and they try to locate the book that corresponds with the call number. And then we ask that they take a picture with the book to show that they found it, and that they post it on social media using a special hashtag. And then after about a week of giving people a chance to enter, we pick a couple winners, and they win a gift certificate. And we've had quite a bit of success, and we try to keep it very open to let them know, you could ask us for help. Like if you don't find the book on the shelf, like let us know, and we'd be happy to help you find it. So it's not so much like of a something that they have to know how to navigate the shelf system, and we kind of just use it as a way to have them participate in a contest and hopefully win something, which they seem excited about. But then also they get introduced to some of the resources just by walking around. So to get to the stacks, they walk by, the computer lab, or they walk by our laptop vending machine, our cell phone charging station. So there's a lot of resources they're visually seen that we don't have to kind of give them a flyer about or tell them about. They see it on their own. And I feel like that's a bit more helpful for them to get a feel for, like I said, just a feet wet, rather than bombarding them with so much information and resources before school starts that they may not remember, because again, they're so overloaded with new information.
Exactly. And Ray, how about you? I mean, what are some of the sort of I guess icebreaker types of activities that help to draw students in without overwhelming them too much?
Yeah, I agree with Danielle and Andrew, what they were saying about the different kinds of activities. A lot of the activities are very similar. What we've created, photo booths in the libraries, including welcome week tabling and a lot of giveaways. I think the main draw seems to be these planners, especially the new students. They really would like a planner to collect their projects together and figure out their scheduling. And it's really interesting, because you assume like a lot of people are using online calendars, but actually they're still really into the print planners out there. So I think, and for what we get that from a student affairs group. So then they give it to us in the welcome week tables that we host for like a week in front of the library. And students would pick it up and they keep asking for it, and it's high in demand, at least for that first week. But one of the things I work closely is with the student affairs groups. We create these academic success workshops. These are all drop-in workshops in the first several weeks to have students come in whenever they can, whether they are part of a educational opportunity program, also known as EOP, or in a special program, and they're in their first year and they're trying to get acclimated. And they come in and they either learn how to find different sources or get to know the library people, including myself, and really feel like they can get some information about their sort of research strategies, because we found out that a lot of the first year programs already start assigning papers, and a lot of them need advice and help, and they're not used to going to the reference desk asking for help at that point. Mm-hmm. So having a drop-in workshop really makes it easier for them to come in and just ask for help. So there's a variety of activities that are leading up to like curricular, and then leading up to something that's just open and fun.
Are your first-year students great researchers? Let's be honest, the answer is probably no. Websites like Google and Wikipedia have spoiled users with convenience while flooding the information landscape with sources ranging from shoddy to outright duplicitous. Credo Online Reference Service can help. Its user-friendly interface gives students the convenience they expect, paired with the authoritative content librarians demand. Features like topic pages, the mind map, and real-time reference make it ideal for demoing the research process during instruction. Visit corp.credoreference.com for more details and to download the interactive Credo FYE guide, Practices for Enhancing Instruction, which features prominent librarians offering step-by-step activity plans and best practices. I'm wondering if you could help us kind of zero in on some of the, overall certain key elements that you feel like a first-year program should have.
Yeah, I obviously think that if your institution can have a designated librarian, it could be a first-year experience, first-year student success librarian, or even an instruction librarian supporting and coordinating the FYE effort. I think that is one of the key elements, because it's something that a lot of people tend to think that it's something that can be done. Actually, you really need a designated person, an embedded librarian, because there are just an array of resources in the library and also around campus that support FYE. And how do you communicate what the library can do to support the FYE? What kind of value can the library demonstrate to support that? So, for instance, at Fresno State, we have an array of online tutorials. Some of them can be embedded in the content management program like Blackboard, or some of them can go off on their own in a WordPress, and some of them can be embedded in the courses, or there's a lot of resources out there. So how do you communicate all of these different array of sources so that faculty can feel comfortable and the students can utilize them as well? So I think having a faculty engagement is key as well, working with the first year faculty instruction. But one important key element I'm thinking about is having a budget. If you can have a small budget for FYE programming or any kind of event you're doing, outreach, it could really help in the long run, because it's not just getting swag items, but it's really creating all these other opportunities for you to market yourself, and it's just an important way to get students to come in, whether it's for refreshment, whether it's using these kinds of printed calendars or any kind of planner that they might need, and it's beneficial, and then the library can purchase them. So I think a budget is pretty important if you can have it for the FYE program.
That's a good thought. I mean, do you have any sense? I mean, I know it would probably vary widely from institution to institution, but any sense of how big of a budget you might want to allocate towards these activities?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's depending on how much you want to work on and how much has already been done. And I know I was talking to Danielle about this, and we were just saying, having any budget is important.
Right.
It's really helpful.
Yeah. Okay. And then Danielle and Andrew, I mean, what do you, anything you want to add to what Ray just discussed? Are there other, key elements to an FYE program that you would add?
Yeah, this is Andrew. Actually, I just want to echo Ray's about having a separate librarian dedicated to FYE. At East Bay, we actually have never had anyone dedicated to FYE, which is kind of like why we haven't had a really fleshed out program, and it's just been kind of like really spotty, and we've just been putting it together with a different program. So having someone definitely in charge and like managing everything would be very useful and very important to have a really successful FYE activity.
Is that something you think you'll do as you kind of transition into the new semester system and new first year programming that you're getting involved in?
I think we'd like to, because currently right now we have our outreach librarian kind of in charge of developing the workshops in collaboration with our instruction committee. So it's not necessarily geared towards the first year experience, even though we've done a lot of work with first year students. So I think definitely something that we want to consider is having something more dedicated to FYE, whether or not it's going to be a librarian or even just like a committee composed of different like librarians who do work that students would be interested in.
Okay. And then what about you, Danielle? Anything you want to add to all of that?
I would also echo what Ray said about having embedded tutorials or having these online tutorials accessible to your first year students. And that's actually a component that we utilize in our first year program as well. So we have the classes that come into the library. So as a component of their first year program, they are all required to attend library orientation. And during that orientation, we follow up where they left off. And what I mean by that is we utilize the instructional strategy flipped classroom. So those tutorials are developed and are expected of the students to view and take in before coming to that session, so that we aren't starting from the very, very basics. They have already covered some of the information that we'll be building upon when we see them in person. Mm-hmm. So it already builds, first off, builds a rapport with the student, and second, it allows the student to do some of their own learning and come up with their own questions that they can bring to the classroom and be prepared with. And I feel very helpful to have these tutorials available online and hosted in a learning management system like Ray mentioned, because then the students can go back to them again later after they are done with the session or they are not at the library anymore. They have that digital access that a lot of students are really looking toward, because if we aren't hosting these videos, they're going to be looking towards resources on YouTube that maybe are not the types of resources that we might hope that they look for. And not to say that the videos on YouTube are not helpful, but sometimes there are old videos. So for instance, if they look up videos on MLA citation, MLA had such a big overhaul in 2016 when they went to MLA 8 from 7, that if they're looking at old videos and not realizing it, they may be getting some great instruction prior to 2016, but using that same video that's still hosted in 2018 would be a disservice to that student. So really having these prepared tutorials for students to navigate to instead of going on their own really is a good way to support the students when they are on their own later on.
That was Ray Pun, Andrew Carlos, and Danielle Rapu. This concludes the second of our 4-part series on how orientation and engagement factor into the first year experience. This episode was brought to you by Credo. Be sure to join us for the next episode, where our guests offer insights and takeaways from their day-to-day development of first year experience programming, particularly in serving diverse student bodies.
I think that recognizing, even when you have maybe a limited budget, that there are things that you can do that don't require a big budget, such as taking the time to meet with their regular FYE instructor and talking to them about reiterating some of the things that they get from the library sessions, such as, when they struggle with their research or they need help with it, that they should come to the library, and to really echo the things that we teach, because oftentimes we do get to see them, but we don't always get to connect with them.
Find all of the episodes of The Authority File on your favorite podcast app or on our website, choice360.org. Just click on the librarianship dropdown. On choice360.org, you'll also find information on Choice's entire product platform, including Choice Reviews, CC Advisor, Choice Webinars, resources for college libraries, our white papers, and a whole lot more. A great way to keep up with The Authority File is to join the Choice Authority File Facebook group, which you can access via via the Choice Reviews Facebook page. As a member of the group, you can give us feedback, suggest podcast participants, chat with other listeners, and submit new topic ideas. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.